To another beautiful day in paradise. Some people travel all sorts of ways to get to Antigua and Barbuda. We've had rowers, we've had submarines, we've had aeroplanes, of course, my preferred way to go. But some people sail en masse all the way from the east coast of the US. Bob Osborne, good morning to you.
Morning.
Now, you are part of the Salty Dog Flotilla Regatta Raleigh?
Yes, I serve as president of that group. Somewhat against my will, I'll admit, but someone's got to do it. But I've been involved with the group for about 8 years, 7, and I've been pushing Antigua pretty hard for 5 years.
You love Antigua, don't you?
I do. I really enjoy it, and people here have been so supportive. You know, the first year we came, it was like 25 boats, and this year we had 75. So I thought that was an amazing success.
Well, that is incredible. But tell me, what is the Salty Dog Rally all about?
It's really kind of an artifact of our group as an educational organization. We're not-for-profit in the U.S., and our goal is to teach people blue water sailing skills, things that they need to make a safe passage.
So are these people who are coming on these, are these people who haven't done any blue water sailing before, or they people, because I know some of you in particular, come time and time again. So does it start off for people thinking, well, I don't know how to do this, I need support, this is new to me?
Well, it's a good question, Zoe. What we do is we don't just let any old person get in. And as a president and also rally director, it's a role that I also play, I interview people whose experience may not be that great. And then if I think that they don't have enough experience to be safe, this is a very long way from the United States. And we don't want people to get into trouble. Yeah. People sometimes do. But the ability to have some experience is important. So as a general rule, we want someone to have spent, say, 3 nights at sea in a single voyage. And to that end, we have a baby rally, sort of, a rally from Hampton, Virginia to Maine.
And how far is that?
Newport. It's about 600 miles in total, and maybe a little less than that. But it's 2 nights out to get to Newport, and then they go through the canal, and then it's another night. So it's sort of a total of 3 nights. But that gives people a pretty good feel for what they have to do. We also encourage and in many ways require people to have extra crew on board. And if they don't have a lot of experience, they got to bring someone who has.
Fair enough. Now, you've got 75 boats. Obviously, as you've just said, they need a little bit of experience. So is there a support boat going with you in case anybody gets into trouble? Because it sounds a lot, 75 boats, but once you spread out on the ocean, you're a long way apart. So how does that work?
Well, it's interesting. When you go out after the first day or 2, you don't see anybody for the entire trip.
Yeah.
But we have a pretty elaborate shoreside support, where we have people on call 24 hours a day, available by email or sat phone, to help people with technical problems or just to give them words of encouragement. And we work very closely with the United States Coast Guard, and we really haven't had any. I mean, this year we had 115 boats leave from Hampton, Virginia. The balance went to the Bahamas,
right, okay.
And then 75 here, and a few people elsewhere. But the reality is that a lot can go wrong. So we make a point of requiring 2 forms of trafficking. In other words, the ability to send out a ping as to where you are, whether it's the Iridium Go or the Garmin InReach or something like that. And then they have to have 1 form of what we call long-form email, the ability to get a detailed weather report, which we get every day from a shoreside support out of Florida, Chris Parker's weather.
Yeah, I know Chris Parker's weather is the one that people use.
Pretty much.
What about the journey itself? What are the challenges of coming that way to Antigua?
Well, often people say to me, so do you go down to Florida and then cross over? What do you do? But we're really fighting the prevailing winds.
Yeah.
And that, in the early fall, which is a time when the summer southwest winds that are prevailing on the East Coast begin to compete with the constant parade of low-pressure systems coming off of the Northeast. So as a result, you end up with these ever-changing winds. But as you get closer this time of year, or certainly in the fall, the winds tend to be south of east.
Okay.
They're always from the east when you're in the trades, but south of east is more typical. So it's kind of an uphill run. And it's not all that great.
That's not fair.
The run home is fabulously easy, but sometimes it'll take 2 weeks to get here.
So is that about the average that it takes?
Well, the fastest I've ever seen was one guy in a carbon fiber 65-footer, and he did it hard on the wind in 7 days.
Oh, that's a really uncomfortable
Fastest
ride.
I've done is 9.5.
That's not bad.
And the longest was over 12.
And you have to cross the Gulf Stream?
We do. We do. And in fact, Zoe, we choose to leave from Hampton, Virginia, because that's the closest place on the East Coast to getting across the Gulf Stream. It's also far enough south, so you avoid a lot of the mayhem of the northeast gales at that time of year. Several boats left from Newport this year, and we encourage people, if they're going to do that, they have to have experience, because you won't get across the Gulf Stream without encountering at least one gale if you can't average some 7 to 7.5 knots,
yeah.
and that's pretty fast for a cruising boat.
So once you all get to Antigua, I know you love Antigua and you're here for some time. Do people stay for any length of time, or do they say, right, okay, I've done that, I'm going to sail back again now?
Oh no, well, people tend to hang out here. Here we are, it's January 18th or something, and we still have a dozen boats here, but I would say most boats tend to stick around at least through Thanksgiving, and that gives them several weeks on the island. And a lot of people go home for the holidays, and so they'll leave their boat here on a mooring in Falmouth or over at English Harbor, or commonly down in Jolly Harbor. And then they'll come back, kind of hang around, get their footing, and then depart. Because the winds get very strong in late December, the Christmas winds, as we call them. And they don't begin. This year has been uncharacteristically calm. But next few days we're supposed to get pretty sporty again. But as soon as things calm down, we'll probably head down to Guadalupe.
So you're going to Guadalupe. So you're going to do any more sailing? Ryan, won't you go to Guadalupe and island hopping?
You know, it's funny. We do a big run like that. Like, I think I've had enough of that for now. But we will run down to Guadalupe, and then we'll move our way down. We're actually having a rendezvous down in. We'll have some boats get together in the Saints. Then we're going to get together in Dominica. You know, they have the Yachty Appreciation Week in March, but because there's so many of us, they do one for us. So we're going to have one the first week of February, and then a lot of us will go down to Carnival in Martinique in mid-February. And after that, you know, we're going to be doing a cruise up through the Bahamas to go home and so forth.
You do love messing about in boats.
We do.
And what, next year, when you coming back to Antigua again?
Oh yeah. Yeah. You know, it's funny, every year I think, oh my God, this is a long trip. And I think maybe this year I should leave the boat south, but somehow I always go back.
Come back to Antigua, and you're going to have to ask this, what's your favourite thing to do in Antigua?
Oh, that's a hard one. I think just actually hanging out with the folks. There's so many of us. And I will tell you, you know, the first year we came here was the year that Barbuda got trashed, and the hurricane went through the BVI.
Hurricane Irma.
And that was a big one. And our rally had historically gone to the BVI. But the minute that happened, I had been here, and I liked this better. So that previous year, I met a few people, so I got on the phone, because it was about 1 month from when the hurricane hit, so we had to leave, not even. And within a week or two, I had a half a dozen or 10 events scheduled. And now, we have literally 2 weeks of events that happen every single day. So everybody's very focused on that.
And that's here in Antigua?
Here in Antigua, absolutely, yeah. And what's interesting is each year I get more and more requests from people saying, I'd like to do an event here, or let me sponsor a cocktail party to help them understand, you know, the services that I provide. This is an example. Next year we're going to up the ante a little bit. I mean, every year the Yacht Club is very supportive. It does a special reception and so forth, and it's been great. And we're going to plan. I'm dealing with David Fitzmaurice at the club, and we're going to invite local tradesmen and put badges on them so you can find out who the electrician is, or you can find out who the rigger is, or the welder, or something like that.
That is a good idea.
A lot of stuff breaks.
Yeah, I know.
Everything's broken.
Well, you know, of course, that Richard Fear with is Spinnaker Marine is your go-to guy.
There you go. Well, I mean, just for instance, this was my least breakage year ever, and I still had electronics, canvas, and someone to clean up the boat, and something else. I can't remember what it was. Oh, rigging. All that within the first week of being here. So we sprinkled money around with 75 boats. Everybody's pretty happy to see us arrive.
So what do you do if you're in the middle of the Pacific and something goes wrong like that? One of those things breaks, the rigging perhaps. What do you do?
Well, we've had people that have lost their forestay. We've never had a dismasting. We have had a few people get picked up by helicopters, but rarely. Usually we can sort through most things. For example, a fairly common problem with some of the littler boats is a following sea pushes water up into the exhaust and locks the engine. And it takes some doing to figure out how to deal with that. And the way we do is we have shoreside people that will walk someone through it. We've had some scary moments, but nothing that was life-threatening particularly. Think about it. With over 100 boats heading south, you'd think something horrible would happen, but it generally doesn't.
Well, thank goodness for that. It always amazes me that you can have 100 boats going south, and as you go, you never see each other.
No. It's about a 5-day stretch when you're just north of Puerto Rico, when you literally don't see another vessel or anything for 5 days.
And you obviously love that very much.
Well, I like being here. It's like a necessity. I got to get from here to there.
And you'll be coming back when?
Back early November.
Early November. Yeah. Bob, we'll look forward to seeing you back again. Have safe travels as you tour the islands. So thank you, Bob Osborne and the Salty Dog. So if you fancy sailing down from the east coast of America, Bob, how do they get hold of you to do that?
You can go to saltydogsailing.org or email me at bob@saltydogsailing.org.
Thank you, Bob. And thank you to Lucky Eddie's Bar and Restaurant in Falmouth Harbour, Antigua, where we've been sitting and enjoying the view of the boats. So do you want to come to paradise? Well, one way to get here is to sail. I'm Zoe Carlton. This is Antigua and Barbuda, and I'm a dreamer in paradise.